And then after our
I'll
salute,
do it later. After it's fine.
after our salute, I'm going to ask Ms. Adams if she would call us for a moment of silence, and she'll describe it a bit.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moment of silence.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is a moment of silence for Peter Baronio. He was the Economic Development Coordinator for the Township of Maplewood, 2005 to 2009. I met Peter in 1996 when I started in the field of downtown revitalization and redevelopment, and our community of Main Street community and downtown redevelopment across the state just found out about Peter's passing, which happened last November. So he was an important mentor of mine and taught me a lot. Join me in a moment of silence. Thank you.
Pursuant to Section 5, Chapter 231, Public Laws 1975, this is to state for the record that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by posting and maintaining the annual notice of regular meetings on the bulletin board of the municipal building, by mailing the annual notice of regular meetings for 2019 to the News Record and Star Ledger in December 2018, and by filing said notice in the office of the Township Clerk.
Ms. Adams? Here. Mr. Jaffes?
Here.
Mr. Lembrick?
Here. Good night, CC.
Mr. McGehee?
Here.
Mayor DeLuca?
Here.
Whereas Chapter 231, Public Laws 1975, commonly known as the Open Public Meetings Act, requires that all meetings of public bodies be open to the public, and whereas Section 7A provides that the governing body has the discretion to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation of the public at any meeting, and whereas desire of the governing body to comply with the provision of this act, same time to conduct its business in an orderly and expeditious manner, now therefore be resolved by the Township Committee, Township of Maplewood, that it does hereby prohibit, except as set forth in the formal agenda, active participation in deliberations of the governing body by the public, and except as otherwise described by law, does limit the public to the observations of the actions and discussions of the governing body at all of its regular and special meetings.
So moved. Second.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Jaffes?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mr. McGehee?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, thank you. Welcome to the Tuesday, May 7th, 2019 meeting of the Maplewood Township Committee. I'm going to run through the agenda. If you need to get a copy of the agenda, we have it up here. The first item we're going to do is we're going to introduce our municipal budget for 2019. And you'll be, we have a script that we're going to follow. This is my 14th time trying to follow this script, but I haven't succeeded yet. So we'll try to do the best we can.
So I won't feel bad then.
No. After we do the budget, we'll have our first public comment period. If, seeing who's in the audience, I think you might be here to talk about the pool fees. So that would be the time to talk about the pool fees because that's going to be a discussion item later on. After that, we'll have our monthly Board of Health meeting. Then we have an ordinance on final passage, and this deals with the paper and plastic bags. And that's a hearing, that's on second reading, so if anyone would like to speak on that, that would be the time to come up and speak on that ordinance. We have another ordinance on final passage, and that's a zoning permit. And if on the off chance you're here to speak about that, that would be the time to come up and speak. We have introduction of two new ordinances. One is parking restrictions on some roads over at Clinton Elementary School. That's part of our Safe Routes to School program. And we'll be introducing a bond ordinance. Then we'll be considering the budget for the Maplewood Village Alliance Special Improvement District and the Springfield Avenue Partnership with Special Improvement Districts. In both of those, there'll be a hearing on June 18th. We have three discussion items. One is corporate responsibility for plastics. The second is the pool fee for school swim parties. And the third is in redevelopment area 2, changes in permitted use, the lots associated with the building supply properties. We have our consent agenda. We'll be adopting green building practices for civic, commercial, and residential buildings, a sustainable land use pledge. We'll be awarding a contract for speed humps on Orchard Road. Will be improvements that are completed. We'll be reimbursing an escrow account for some work that's been done. We're going to be adopting the responsible pet ownership resolution. We'll be paying bills, approving bills and claims, authorizing refund of overpayment of interest, appointing a cashier in the finance department. We have a contract for pickup and disposal of yard waste. We also have a contract for the planting of trees and a contract for the organic field maintenance at Dehart Park. We have the open and closed session minutes. Actually only the open session of April 16th. There was no closed, so we'll be approving those minutes. We'll have our second public comment, so if anyone's still here, you'll have another chance to share your concerns with us. We'll have administrative reports from elected officials, and then we will adjourn. So, Ms. Fritzen, do you think we will get this right?
We can try.
We can try. Well, I think you're up.
Mayor, this is the time fixed for the public hearing on the 2019 municipal budget. The budget was approved by the governing body on April 2nd, 2019, was advertised as required by law on April 19, 2019, together with notice of hearing for this time. Printed copies have been made available to the public during the past week, and a supply is here for anyone desiring a copy.
So anyone who has not secured a copy of the budget, we have it up here. You don't have to, you can take it home and read it. We've printed them up. They're here, so I know that's not what that says.
Mayor, I have a resolution regarding the reading of the budget by title only. That resolution is resolution number 93-19, resolution to read the budget by title.
I would move that resolution.
Second it.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Daffis?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mr. McGeehee?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes. The resolution is adopted. Before opening the hearing on the budget, I wish to outline the procedure. Just come up and give us your name and address before you speak. If you have any questions, please direct them to me. Either we'll be able to answer them here or we'll have our finance people answer those. This is only the time to talk about the municipal budget, and we can't answer questions about the school or county portion of the budget. So with that, I now declare open the public hearing on the 2019 municipal budget. This is about how many people came up last year, 0. Okay, seeing those, no one coming up, we're going to entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Daffis?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mr. McGeehee?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes.
Mayor, the next is adopting resolution for the 2019 budget, and that is resolution number 94-19, section 2, adoption of the municipal budget for the year 2019.
I move the adoption of resolution 94-19.
I second.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Adams?
Oh, yes.
Mr. Daffis?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mr. McGeehee?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, the resolution is adopted. Thank you very much. We did pretty well this year. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. Okay, next up is public comment. Again, if you have thoughts about the pool fee, this would be the time to share those with us. If you're here to talk about plastic or paper bags, they're going to be the next item on the, I'm sorry, not the next, but the first ordinance item will be a public hearing on that. So that would be the time to come up and talk about the plastic or paper bags. So is there anyone who would like to address the Township Committee? Just come up and give us your name and address.
Good evening, Township Committee members. My name is Jennifer Coleman, and I'm here, residing at 693 Prospect Street in Maplewood. I'm here as the chairperson of the Pool Advisory Committee. It's my hope that I can set the record straight in terms of the job function deliverables that the Pool Advisory Committee is responsible for. The Pool Advisory Committee was created on April 7th, 1995, ordinance number 1968. If one were to refer to the Maplewood Township Administrative Legislative Guidelines, Chapter 49.2, one would find the explicit duties of the Pool Advisory Committee as outlined and adopted by the Township. It states that the duties of the Pool Advisory Committee shall be to A, review the budget and capital improvement plans for the Township pool and pool property and to report to the Township Committee. B, review and make recommendations to the Township Committee regarding pool ordinances, resolutions, and rules and regulations. C, provide an annual assessment and report concerning the pool operations to the Township Committee within 45 days of the end of the pool season. And D, conduct special duties, studies, etc., as may be directed by the Township Committee or the Recreation Director. The Pool Advisory Committee is comprised of community volunteers who've devoted their time and attention to the maintenance of our beautiful pool facility. As part of the Pool Advisory Committee's duties, in 2008, we made a collective recommendation to the Township Committee regarding pricing. That recommendation was made after a thorough review of the historical data that showed a declining membership base from 2010 to the current day. And I'm going to share some handouts that clearly indicate and show this trend line that I'm going to ask Chair.
Ms. Coleman, just for clarification, for the record.
Sure.
I think you meant to say 2018, is that right?
I'm sorry, to 2018 season, yes. Thank you for clarifying.
No worries,
Yes.
just
And the information that we have on here is only reflective up to 2016.
Thank you.
While membership is declining, the cost to run the facility has remained the same or increased. The Pool Advisory Committee suggested across-the-board pricing increases ranging from 8 to 10% in all the membership categories. The early bird purchase price was shortened, and birthday party pricing, group party pricing, group swim lessons were all increased. In addition, a new membership pricing option for out-of-towners was established as well. All of this was done to close a growing budget gap, and it was done fairly across every possible business segment within the pool's line item. This proposed pricing was presented to the Township Committee on February 6th, a meeting I attended to present our recommendations to the TC. The Township Committee then approved that pricing. I'm going to share with you our meeting minutes from the Pool Advisory Committee meeting, where we unanimously approved the pricing that was going to then be set forth to the Township Committee. I want to share that after one season with this new pricing in place and new membership categories, the pool is essentially at break even for the first time since I have joined the PAC, the Pool Advisory Committee, which was, I believe, in 2011. This is truly remarkable and is a testament to the hard work of this committee and that this hard work that this committee put into finding ways to fund the pool at the necessary level amid declining membership rates. On average, the pool loses approximately $6,500 hosting large group parties. And that number is based solely on the staffing cost for those events. This does not account for the other overhead items such as additional chemicals, etc., required for these events. That would bring the total cost closer to $8,000 within that $500 per event pricing that existed before the 2008 pricing changes. I'm going to share with you the P&L that I ran with those numbers. If the Township Committee keeps these events at the recommended $10 per person pricing as was adopted back in February 2018, the pool would no longer lose money on these parties and would finally be fully covering these costs. I want to point out and make clear that the pool committee is not seeking to profit for the pool, to make a profit for the pool. Something that Deputy Mayor McGehee asserted in an email to Sarah Knudsen on April 11th. That is not and never has been a mandate for this committee. In that email, the entire Pool Advisory Committee was accused of acting unjustly towards children in our district while being, and I quote, being profitable per, in parentheses, per the intention of the Pool Advisory Committee, end parentheses, end quote. I assure you, Deputy Mayor, that this is not and never has been the intent of the Pool Advisory Committee. Again, I refer to section 49.2
Ms.
of
Coleman,
the
Ms.
legislative
Coleman,
guidelines.
I'm going to stop you there, please. We try to address the entire body. This is a public comment portion for the Township Committee. We try not to get into personal back and forth. And if you could possibly keep your comments directed to the entire body, we appreciate that.
Absolutely. So
Thank you.
again, referring back to 49.2 of the legislative guidelines outlining the duties of the PAC. Furthermore, there was no breakdown in communication, as was also asserted in this said email. The Pool Advisory Committee and the Recreation Department are not part of, nor are they beholden to report changes directly to any schools or PTAs.
May I interrupt you there? That breakdown of communication is not yours. We own that. We did not communicate those prices in 2018. That's what that meant.
Okay.
It wasn't you. It
Okay.
wasn't your, I want to be clear on that.
Thank
We
you.
are accountable for that as a town. So to be super clear, we dropped the ball as a town, not communicating those prices once we approved them on February 6, 2018.
Thank you. And that, because that, it seemed to be pointed at us.
Not
that
at
the
all.
onus
And
was on
that's
us or on an
not at all. That
overworked
was, and we were going to talk
and
about that tonight.
understaffed
We own
recreation
that. That is
department.
not your responsibility.
Thank
That's
you.
our responsibility.
That was my other point, is that I hope that the Township Committee, which clearly it seems that you do recognize that. On behalf of the Pool Advisory Committee, we were quite taken aback and offended by the notion that we can, quote unquote, do better. Based on the job description that I've shared, the PAC seems to be operating completely on task, doing the job that we were asked to do by the township.
Ms. Coleman, I'd like to interrupt you again. That's not you as a committee, that's us.
Again, that
you're
was
taking-
not specified in the email, so
Yeah.
I do appreciate you clarifying
But
that
I think
now.
I need to, since you're bringing it up, just to ensure the narrative is clear.
So let's see if we can get to a conclusion here.
Yep, we're getting there. We'll all agree that volunteering does not pay. But to disparage fellow volunteers and make them seem like scapegoats after a highly researched decision that was voted on and put into law by the Township Committee feels inexcusable. And I understand that it may be an uncomfortable stance, and I appreciate that you're now going to be hopefully owning this decision. A decision, again, that was made for the right reasons, with a long-term vision for the continued use and enjoyment of the Maplewood Community Pool for generations to come. So to sum up, number one, the Pool Advisory Committee respectfully asks the Township Committee to uphold the pricing recommendations that were voted into law in February 2008 with no changes or modifications to the group party pricing. Number two, the Pool Advisory Committee respectfully requests an apology from the Deputy Mayor And we cordially invite you to join all of our future meetings so that you can learn more about the challenges and the operations and challenges and the driving concerns that the Pool Advisory Committee faces in trying to do our jobs as volunteers.
Well, Ms. Coleman, thank you for the invite. I will take you up on that, number one. And number two, as I already said, we own that. We apologize for the narrative where there was confusion there in your interpretation of the communication. But again, we own that narrative. We own the fact that we as a body, as a town, did not communicate that out, and therefore there's a disconnect.
Great.
So there's your apology.
Well, I would actually like that in writing that I can then disseminate to the entire advisory committee.
So look, let's move
To
forward.
advance.
Yeah.
And then number 3, the Pool Advisory Committee respectfully suggests, well, actually, we've addressed that part. That was the communications campaign. So thank you for addressing that in advance. So that's that on pool pricing. And I would be remiss if, as the town, or as the chairperson of the Pool Advisory Committee, I didn't ask about the parking situation and what's being done for New Jersey Transit to ensure that our members will have ample parking available during the upcoming summer.
Same thing we do every year. We work with them to make sure that they get their cars out of there when the pool opens.
Okay, so that's going to happen as of,
Why would it not?
okay, great. I know that there were some issues last year and many complaints about that, or some complaints about that. So thank you for your time.
So if there are any complaints, Ms. Viveros is the person who will resolve those issues.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else want to address the Township Committee? This is just a get up and speak.
Good evening. My name is Erin Scherzer. I live at 49 Oberlin Street. I'm speaking today in the capacity as Vice President of the Tuscan PTA, soon to be President of the Tuscan PTA, and I'm also a member of the PTA President's Council. I first want to say thank you to the Township Committee for hearing when we sent our email, actually, no one sends letters anymore, right? When we sent our email on April 13th articulating our surprise at the change in the pool fee. And Mayor DeLuca, we appreciate your immediate response to that. And we also appreciate the diligence of all the Township Committee members and also the administrative leaders within the town to address this promptly. The fact that this was brought to light in early April, and now we're here in early May talking about that shows how when we work together as a community and we put the common interests of the community at front, things can happen. So I'm here today to talk about the school pool parties specifically, 2 aspects of that. First, our immediate need, because soon June will be here, school will let out, parents will have to then deal with their children, and the last rite of passage is for many of our children, actually not many, all of our children in grades 5 through 8 in the district participate in a pool party. This is kind of a traditional exercise as part of their end of the school activity. So we'd like to talk immediately about summer 2019 and make some recommendations as to how we should proceed going forward in conjunction with the pool committee. I would also like to acknowledge, similar to the pool committee, every PTA is housed of volunteers as well, just as all of you are volunteers, and so we all are invested here in the community. So I want to provide a little bit of context, maybe working first just so you understand what these pool parties are. So as I said, every child in grades 5 through 8 at our middle school and the 4 elementary schools located in Maplewood go over to the pool and they have fun. It's great to focus on test scores, it's great to focus on academic success, but part of producing human beings that are going to be wonderful people is to also allow them to have these social occasions so they can just have fun and just be kids. No child is turned away from the door to be able to go participate in these pool parties. PTAs fundraise up the wazoo to be able to do this. Just so you know what these fundraisers entail, I can speak to Tuscan. We have 5th graders selling smelling pencils to kindergartners for $1 each. They make a 50-cent profit on that. We have kids bringing in loose change to be able to save up for this. The parents this year participated in a dodgeball tournament. Thankfully, no one got hurt on our nonprofit insurance. We sold flowers performers at our annual nonprofit community music show that we do. It's a true community effort with the kids, with the parents, and the teachers working together to lead the charge. The nature of the party, this is not some she party. This is like true how we all grew up, pool party. All the PTAs bring in the food. We make sure we set up, we clean up, we make sure the kids stay in line. All we really need in terms of support from the town is a pool and lifeguards and making sure the chemicals are okay. So we don't have that kind of issue working on. So that's all we really need. But we take care of all the logistics going in. It's also important to note that the pool parties take place in the month of June, during the school week, when the pool is otherwise closed and not taking away from business of the pool. I was very impressed to hear that the very diligent work by the entire pool committee, and appreciated Ms. Coleman's very detailed analysis of all the revenue and the making our community resource, the community pool, actually not be in the red anymore. And I was particularly encouraged that last year that the pool actually broke even, and that is really remarkable. I'd also like to point out that last year, with the pool breaking even, each of the 5 participating schools paid $500 to participate in this particular event. We are not detracting from any point of other types of revenue for the community, and would be open to discussions on ways in the future to be able to make sure these events are running efficiently, such as maybe one school goes in the morning, one school goes in the afternoon, you have a shared staff across, just in terms of efficiency there. But we were very encouraged that the pool and the diligent work in terms of the financial analysis was able to make a break even, was still charging the $500 per school. So I just also want to bring to light some of the details. So we're all businesses, right? You're a business, we're a business, we're a nonprofit, you're all government. Just want to point out from a little bit of the background in the business transaction between the Tuscan PTA in particular and the Township Committee. I'm not going to name names, so y'all can deal with things on your end, but I do think it's important that it is brought to your attention. So on October 15th, members of the 5th grade leadership team, these are parents who have to deal with the fun task of putting pizza out and making sure kids don't choke on a juice box, they reached out to the rec department via email. The directions on the pool website, unfortunately, I went to look, the pool fees are actually not listed. Membership fees are listed, but pool party fees are not listed. They instructed to contact the rec department, which is what the Tuscan PTA did. The response came back same day from the rec department, and attached to that form was a form for school pool parties, which stated that the fee was $500, and the top of the document specifically says school pool parties.
What was the date of that?
October 15th, 2018. So that was that form there. The PTA leaders working on this event reached out again to the township, to the rec department, to ask for clarification on the price, because on the form, there's a little paren under the $500 that says, this is for 2 hours, and if you need additional time, let's talk about the rate. And so our pool party is 3 hours, so we were trying to figure out what the rate is. The rec department wrote back the same day, that's October 23rd, and said that it's $500 for 3 hours, and quote, you're good to go with that. Fast forward, so we're selling pencils, collecting loose change under things, going forward here. Now we fast forward to April 4th, 2019. That day, the Tuscan, so in addition to the President's Council, all the elementary PTAs meet quite regularly. And part of our work is to share resources. We're actually trying to equitize all of our budgets because we believe that every child deserves fair opportunities in this district to push ahead. And at the time, that's when the Tuscan PTA learned of the change in pool fee structure we had learned from another school. There was no proactive outreach from the Recreation Department to our PTA on this matter. So reached out on the 4th. We reached out again on the 9th because we had not received an email or any form of response, call, or anything at that time, and that we were trying to confirm the agreed upon price from October because we had relied on that information in terms of our budget and our planning. At that time, we received a very quick apology. They made specific mention of the pool committee making these recommendations, and kind of said, "Too bad, so sad." So that brings us here to today. We are in a situation where our PTA in particular and other PTAs have other financial demands. We're $500 short for this event. Now, we have the Tuscan Fair on Saturday. I hope everybody comes out, take a picture with the tiger, because that money is going to help pay so every single child in our school is able to go to this event. It's important to know that our parents, and I think you all know this as elected officials, that our parents are incredibly cash-strapped in this community. This is the hardest time, beside back to school and Christmas time, this is one of the hardest times a year for parents. Parents have to pay for camp and summer childcare expenses. That's not, I'm looking at some parents on here, you all know that's not cheap. You have to pay for summer clothing for your children. You have to figure out, other end of the year expenses. It's important to know that the PTAs are nonprofits. We're not fat cats. The days of fat cat PTAs, we've euthanized that cat. We are running a very lean operation these days, and so $500, that means we're taking away an assembly for a different grade. That means we're going to be able to, fewer books that we put in the library, fewer kids that we actually provide meal support, and we provide supplies to kids within our district. So this is where that money is going to come from, to be able to meet this. It's important that we're talking about a larger equity issue here. Looking back at the Maplewood Pool's calendar over the previous year, there's no date on the calendar that any child in this community can just go to the pool and have fun. Our PTAs are willing to pay for a day for at least 5th through 8th graders, and if we could take the little ones, we would take them along too, so they can have a day at the pool. All we're asking for is a day when the pool is not ordinarily operational. I have to sometimes laugh at the fact that we actually have a free day on the pool calendar for dogs to go to the pool, but we don't have a day on the calendar for our kids. We're providing that opportunity through a very structured environment. You can keep your staff as minimal as possible because we're providing the supervision, we're providing the entertainment to be able to move forward from there. We don't want to make this all about us. We also want to talk about the fact that this is an incredible opportunity for the Maplewood Pool and, quite frankly, for the township. Wouldn't it be great to be able to say, we enabled every 5th through 8th grader in this town to be able to go to the pool at least one day this summer? Wouldn't it be great to be able to use that as promotional materials as we try to get people to sponsor other aspects of the pool? When I was reviewing the pool's website, for a revenue generating source, I was surprised that there wasn't an opportunity to sponsor aspects at the pool. We have businesses in our region, in our town, that could potentially underwrite some aspect of our pool or be able to support the pool. The only thing that's there, aside from signing up for the pool, is the Pool Pals Fund. And I have to be honest, it kind of made me sad that there wasn't much there to advertise that forward. And I'd also want to point out that it seemed the Pool Pals program seems like a great resource, yet communication being key, the PTAs would like some information on how we can get that out to our members. I noticed May 15th is the deadline for that.
So, Ms. Scherzer, I'm going to ask you to wrap up.
Yeah, sorry to be rambling on a little bit here, but a little passionate about this point. So we want to be able to help. Also, in terms of future revenue generating, sometimes visiting the pool is your opportunity to be able to see that pool, to consider a membership down the line. My family and I just joined the pool this year because someone actually we bought a guest pass with a friend last year, and now we're excited to go to the pool. So this particular, providing this opportunity for the kids and the many parent volunteers who help is a way to potentially get future people to come into the door at the pool. So thank you so much for considering. In short, we would like for this year the $500 to remain, and per our letter on the 13th, an opportunity to sit down and work out a structure that's fair for everybody.
Ms. Scherzer, thank you very much. Let me just, again, on behalf of the town, apologize. Just like I apologize, Ms. Coleman. We own this. This is something, as you've articulated very clearly with dates and data, that this is something that we dropped the ball as a town. And so there's nothing against the pool committee
or anything else. We dropped the ball. We didn't communicate the pricing out, and we passed that in February 6th of 2018. You reached out in October 2000. That's 8 months later, and we still had the pricing incorrect. So
Thank you for the apology, and I look forward to what we can do together.
Great. So, Ms. Scherzer gave a complete. Okay. We really don't need anyone to just repeat. So if there's something different, that would be good.
It's just,
Just say who you are and your
I'm
address.
Sarah Knutson, and I live at 476 Walton Road in Maplewood. I am the co-president of the MMS HSA. And I know you guys have heard a lot. Our specific instance is that we are planning on taking all 3 of our grades to the pool. In fact, this year, we're not doing a big 8th grade trip because we cannot afford it. We really can only afford $500 for that class. And so $1,500 versus almost $7,000 is a huge, huge expense for us, especially when 25% of our school is free and reduced lunch. So I just wanted to put that out there and just let you guys know that we are under a lot of pressure from the team leaders at our school to iron this out. We really want to give this to the kids, and I thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else want to? Just.
Hi, my name is Melissa Rennie. I live at 9 Carlton Court in Maplewood. And I'm here on behalf of Soma Justice to request a review of the policies on reduced fee and free access to the Maplewood pool in general, not just specifically for the schools. We spoke at the pool committee meeting several weeks ago, and we wanted to follow up here as we strongly advocate for changes being made now while this summer's membership could potentially still be impacted. Soma Justice leadership believes that pool membership should be available to all Maplewood residents who cannot afford to join, and that barriers to entry should be low so that all residents in our town can take advantage of our recreational facilities. We also support better marketing and fundraising of the Pool Pals program to enable self-sustaining funding of these initiatives, and we're willing to help with the publicization and fundraising for this initiative. We've been very successful with fundraising for other initiatives. Our Cougar Cares initiative has raised over $9,000, and so we do believe that there are ways to do this in a way that is self-sustaining through donors and other membership fee structures. While it may seem like the pool is an optional recreational activity that not all residents need to access, we strongly disagree. Access to the pool is also a health and safety issue. According to a 2018 New York Times article, 64% of African American children have no or low swimming ability. And a 2008 NPR article finds that Black children drown at nearly 3 times the rate of all other children. Pool access is not just a matter of fun, it's a matter of public safety. With the recent closing of the Columbia High School pool, the Maplewood pool provides the only option that some residents have to learn to swim and to learn pool safety. As we have researched this issue, it has come to our attention that to apply for reduced fee membership to the pool, residents need to submit an excessive amount of documentation, including a birth certificate, social security card, school verification, proof of income, rent or mortgage receipt, and a utility bill. This feels like citizenship verification to us and seems designed to reduce the number of families that apply for financial assistance and to deter residents who are undocumented or not U.S. citizens from joining the pool. It's clear from these requirements why more families are not applying for and taking advantage of financial assistance. Our recommendation is that the township reduce the barriers to entry to the same requirements required to apply for free and reduced lunch within the district, which is more than enough to establish whether someone qualifies for financial aid. Furthermore, for those families that do qualify, the $500 per family rate remains prohibitively expensive for many residents. The $200 rate for the reduced, and for those families who don't qualify, the $500 is extremely high. More than 20% of our students in Maplewood qualify for free and reduced lunch, and many more students' families do not qualify for free and reduced lunch but could never afford a $500 price tag. We understand that the pool cannot operate at a deficit, and we strongly support and are willing to help with better publicity around Pool Pals or other fundraising initiatives around this program. We also support finding creative solutions for all residents to be able to access the pool, whether that's through free hours at the pool, like the baby pool hours, or free days where the pool is open to the community, or enabling pool members to purchase guest passes to leave at the front desk for non-pool members, or other creative solutions. We'd be happy to work with you on those. There's a long history across the United States of racism driving the segregation of swimming pools and of communities using fees and privatization of public pools to keep people of color out of community swimming pools. If you go to our pool in the summer and you look around, it is clear that the demographics of the pool do not currently reflect the demographics of our community. Maplewood should do all that we can in our power to ensure that our pool embodies the values of inclusion that we strive to achieve in our town. Unless we do so, we cannot really call this a community pool. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to address the Township Committee? Not on paper bags or plastic bags. That's going to come up next. Okay, so we're going to close the public hearing. We're going to move on to our monthly Board of Health, and then we're going to come back after we deal with some of these other issues to our discussion items.
Pursuant to Section 5, Chapter 231, Public Law Act of 1975, this is to state for the record that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by posting and maintaining the annual notice of regular meetings on the bulletin board of the municipal building, by mailing the annual notice of regular meetings for 2019 to the News Record and Star Ledger in December 2018, and by filing said notice with the office of the Township Clerk.
Mr. Adams? Here. Mr. Daffis?
Here.
Mayor DeLuca?
Here.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes, here.
Mr. McGehee?
Here.
Whereas Chapter 231, Public Laws of 1975, commonly known as the Open Public Meetings Act, requires that all meetings of public bodies be open to the public. And whereas Section 7 provides that the Board of Health has the discretion to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation of the public at any meeting. And whereas desire the Maplewood Board of Health to comply with the provisions of this act, same time to conduct its business in an orderly and expeditious manner. Now therefore be resolved by the Maplewood Board of Health as the Township of Maplewood that it does hereby prohibit, except as set forth in the formal agenda, active participation in the deliberations of the Board of Health by the public, and except as otherwise prescribed by law, does limit the public to the observation of the actions and discussions of the Board of Health at all of its regular and special meetings.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Adams? Yes. Mr. Daffis?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mr. McGehee?
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Fritzen. I'll now entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the April 2nd, 2019 meeting.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Adams? Yes. Mr. Daffis?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mr. McGehee?
Yes. Mr. Rowe, you have the floor.
Okay, a few items to report. The drug take-back day this month, they collected the highest amount they've collected so far. It's 160 pounds, so the program seems to improve every time we do it. And thank you to the police department for hosting that. The Municipal Alliance continues to do programs. The open gym is going to be 4 times in May. So that's a lot of basketball. It's a lot of energy, a lot of good relations in the town. So thanks again. Thank you to the police for sponsoring that. And the Municipal Alliance is helping to pay for that program.
And Mr. Rowe, just for the record, for the community to know, we've been doing this now for about 2 years with the police, and we've received great contributions from merchants in the area in terms of free pizza and water. And we also have speakers that come to talk about, drug prevention and other things in terms of domestic issues. So it's a great opportunity for any resident to come out and spend some time with our youth, especially our youth of color in our community, and forge relationships. And our police have developed some great relationships now with some of our youth of color in the high schools and middle school.
Yes, and also later this month, a group of Columbia High School students will be going to a county-wide anti-drug alcohol abuse program. It's called a leadership program. So where they'll get a lot of good information about not abusing drugs, and hopefully they'll some peer leadership to help students avoid that pitfall. We're still planning a summer food program, and this is a little bit complicated. It's going to be at Maple Crest Park. We've never done this before. Our nurse supervisor and Elizabeth Aaron at the Board of Education have been planning this. Ms. Aaron is convinced that there's a need for families in town, particularly working parents, to have, it's going to be a breakfast and lunch program. It's because it's in the park, there's no income verification, whereas if it was in a school, it would have had income verification. It's a federally funded program. We're going to become a satellite of the Irvington program. So I want to thank Irvington for being so gracious just to add us to that. I've spoken with Business Administrator Paul Roth at the Board of Education. He's in favor of it. The program's going to cost about $3,000 in staff time, and the Board of Education has agreed to pay for that. He'll be presenting to the Board of Education on this, and if they approve the plan, he'll let us know. And we'll be needing to do a resolution to approve the plan at some point. And if it's approved, I'll have that for you for the next committee meeting.
And just to give a little bit of context to our community about this, we started this, actually my wife was part of it, started this program. It was Chris Dixon, Backpack Pals in the summer 2 summers ago with MMS Pilot. It was somewhat effective, but we knew we had some hurdles to get this type of recognition. That's why we're doing it in the park this year. And I want to thank Candace as well as Ms. Aaron for their efforts.
Right. They worked very hard on it, and they had lots of, rules they had to follow. And so I'm hoping it's successful. It's the first time we did it. And we hope we'll get the word out to any family that wants to have their children participate in this. We did inspections at all the elementary schools this year and the middle school for the kitchens. And while we're doing that, we had our inspector inspect the bathrooms, and they were in pretty good shape. He found a few things and notified the administration to do repairs, but there was no wide scale. We didn't do the high school, but we will be doing it again soon. We're also, I meant to introduce Sultane Doorbell. He's going to be one of our summer interns. Sultane went to Columbia High School, soon to be a graduate of Rutgers School of Public Health. So I'm really pleased to have her working with us this summer, and I'm looking forward to showing her what a local health department does.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Yes.
Welcome.
We've started giving out flyers for about measles prevention. It's basically, if you're sick, don't come to the library. If you're sick, don't come to the pool. And that's the message right now. And we'll be certainly alert to any measles cases in Maplewood. There's an electronic reporting system that we get from laboratories, so we'll be quick to know if there's a case and taking appropriate actions as needed.
How many?
So far, no cases.
Okay, in terms of if a case does arise in town, is there an inflection point or a point where we say, oh, there's 2 cases, we alert the town, or what's the?
I think we'd alert the town if there was one case.
Just one, okay.
But there was a report in the Star Ledger and NewJersey.com that reportedly had immunization rates at different schools. And I can just speak for Maplewood. The report was totally inaccurate. They had one school listed as 70% when we know it's 100%. And the reason we know it's 100% is because our nurses do the audits every year. So I don't know where they got the numbers from, but they were way off. Almost all of our schools are either 100% or very close to 100% vaccination rates. And so thanks to the schools and our nurses, we really follow up with that. That's a big effort we put forth every December, January, February, making sure all the vaccination records are in. Finally, the river cleanup was this Saturday. I'm estimating we collected about 500 pounds. I want to thank Public Works. They picked up a lot of metal scrap that they found by that ditch that runs from the New Jersey Transit substation. There's a little ditch. I checked the tax maps. The ditch belongs to New Jersey Transit, and it's just a sorry ditch. So I'm gonna, if you could give me information on contacts at New Jersey Transit, who to contact, I will put them on notice to clean up the ditch. That's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Rowe. Any questions from the body?
I have a couple questions, Mr. Rowe. Thank you for your report this evening. A lot of exciting things, and thank you for your all the things that you do as our Department of Health leader. I wanted to follow up on item number 7 of your report, the summer food program planning. I'm really excited about this idea. I'm glad that we're finally doing it. Can you tell us a little bit about how a family that may be interested in participating can go about participating? Is this program going to be administered through the school district or through us?
It's going to be administered through the township. The health division and recreation will be working cooperatively in the park. We'll be having the staff person who I mentioned is a certified school teacher. We figured that was the best way to go, at least at first. And so that's the person who's going to get the $3,000. We're going to pay that staff person and then in turn bill the Board of Education for the cost. So it's paid for by the Board of Education and we're acting as a pass-through agent. We're also going to have our interns there. I don't know if they know that yet, but that's one of the jobs we're going to give them. And as far as getting the word out, the Board of Education will be getting the word out. They know children who are on the school lunch program, but it's also open to any student.
Great.
So we're going to have to do a lot of publicity on this. The town already runs, the YMCA runs camps, the township runs a day camp. So a lot of students and children are already attending camps in town. This will be a little bit different, but we're hoping we'll get good attendance and we'll know. It's a pilot program, first time we did it. I suspect we're going to have to do some tweaking along the way, but I'm hoping it becomes something that's successful. I'll just say that people in town sense the need for this program from other things we've done with the schools. So we're hoping this will be successful too.
As do I, as do we all. How many days a week will this be available? Do we know yet?
5 days a week. We may try to work, maybe we'll do, is it the Backpack Pals that does stuff sends home on the weekends? Maybe we can figure out something to work with another partner to do that.
Terrific. My other question relates to number 9 of your report, the measles prevention. I'm heartened to hear that there haven't been any reports recently to the department that you're aware of and that vaccinations are up to date. However, as you're aware, with respect to immunizations in the older population, there's been some reports in the media that those immunizations are no longer effective and that there should be some public education out there to let folks know that they need to get another booster shot. How are we handling this?
Yes, it's a certain cohort of people who were vaccinated, I think, starting in the 60s up through the 80s, who maybe only received 1 dose. And the recommendation is now they should receive a second dose as adults for MMR. So you're right, we need to publicize that. And they could go to their own doctor. If necessary, we could do it here, but I'd rather have people go to their own doctor first.
What about before vaccination started, adults who just had
almost
measles?
all of us had measles. If you were born before 1960, you probably almost certainly had measles.
Right.
But if you want to get a shot, it's not going to hurt. It can only help. And it's also mumps and rubella.
Right.
And mumps, you do lose immunity to over the years. So there was an outbreak at Temple University I saw. Rubella, but generally speaking, measles and rubella are thought to be lifetime, except when you get 2 doses. So if you don't know if you had measles, might be worth talking to your doctor about getting vaccinated.
Mr. Rowe, considering the public outbreak on this right now and all the media attention to it, as you can appreciate, some of our residents are concerned. And I received questions from a few folks in town as to whether or not we plan on having a van and have the shots offered here as we do with other shots like the flu shot annually. Do you have any such plans currently?
I don't have any plans right now, but if it may be a good idea. We know how to give shots.
I know you do.
So I'll be talking with my colleagues and with the state health department. If that becomes a recommendation, we will do it.
Terrific. Thank you, sir. Nothing further.
Thank you, Mr. Daffis. Anything further? I would now like to invite the public to address the Board of Health. With any questions or concerns at this time, please come to the podium. Seeing no one, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Daffis?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mr. McGehee?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fritzen.
Thank you. We are back on the main agenda, item number 11. We have an ordinance on final passage.
Mr. Mayor, item number 11, ordinance on final passage, ordinance number 2946-19. An ordinance to prohibit the use of plastic bags and regulate the use of paper bags by retail establishments within the Township of Maplewood. This purpose of this ordinance is to encourage the use of reusable bags by customers by reducing the use of disposable paper and plastic non-reusable checkout bags by retail establishments in the Township of Maplewood.
This ordinance has been published, copies posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and copies made available to the general public in accordance with the law. Is there anyone who wants to speak on this? This is the plastic bag, paper bag ordinance. You can come up now.
Hello, my name is Sheila Baker Gujral. I'm 30 at Kendall Avenue. I'm on the Maplewood Environmental Advisory Committee and the Essex County Environmental Commission, and I work at the Association of New Jersey Environmental Commissions. I just want to, again, support the proposed plastic bag bill, 2946-19. I wanted to thank the Township Committee for working with the residents and with the businesses to craft an ordinance that can be workable for everyone. Last week at ANJAC, we celebrated having over 50 plastic ordinances, passed in the state. This is a figure that includes plastic bag ordinances, styrofoam, plastic straw, and intentional balloon release ordinances. I'd also like to thank everyone who came out last weekend to the Rahway River cleanup. That includes all 5 of our Township Committee members, members of the Environmental Advisory Committee, the Green Team, Summer Action, our Health Officer Bob Rowe, DPW Director Calvin Bell, and his great staff. And I'd also like to thank our NJDEP AmeriCorps Watershed Ambassador Jennifer Helminski, who's here. She was out there doing some education on plastic pollution. I went through the garbage that was pulled out of the river, and a lot of what we were pulling out were plastic bags. They get stuck in the rocks and the vegetation, they just stay under there and they don't break down. So this ordinance will have a direct impact on our river, and I anticipate that next year we'll be telling a different story when we do our river cleanup. So I just wanted to thank you all again for doing what you do to make Maplewood the best place it can be. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you for all your work on the river cleanup. The rain.
Hello, my name is Tracy Woods. I live at 253 Burnett Avenue here in Maplewood, and I am the chair of the Maplewood Green Team, and I just wanted to take an opportunity to thank the Township Committee. It's been a long road. We've been doing this for more than a year now, right? And, we've taken the time to reach out and to build a coalition, and as we've said in the past, the Green Team stands ready with a plan that you guys have looked at to do community outreach around this ordinance and around reusable bag promotion in general. And we're happy that, we're at this point. So thank you.
Ms.
Thank
Woods, Ms. Woods, before you go away, since we have such fulsome attendance from the public this evening, which we don't ordinarily have, and I'm so delighted that you're all here, can you tell the public very quickly, summarize quickly, what the educational campaign looks like should this ordinance be adopted this evening, which I'm confident it will be?
So there is going to be posters that are put in all of the retail locations, or offered to all the retail locations, I should say. There's going to be some purchases of reusable bags to give away. In multiple locations, there's going to be a reward for bringing a reusable bag, where you can put a raffle ticket in and then get a $25 gift certificate for that store where the raffle is being held, as a way to encourage adoption of bringing reusable bags. And then also on the side for the retailers, the Green Team's offering design support in ordering reusable bags if they choose to do that. One of the things that the stores often have logos that they may not have digital files on, which you need in order to get reusable bags ordered. And we have volunteers at the Green Team that are going to digitize logos to just expedite that process. And then some other, just general community outreach about it.
Great, thank you.
I am Diane Simmons. I live at 9 Lancaster Avenue, Maplewood. And I'm here again to support the plastic bag bill. I thank you for bringing this measure before us. Everybody who reads the newspaper knows that we are in a climate crisis. Everybody knows that plastic is bad for the climate, whether it's incinerated or whether it ends up in the ocean. So many of our climate problems are so difficult to solve. How do we get power? How do we get transportation? How do we get heat? This, though, is one that's pretty easy to solve. We really don't need those plastic bags. People shopped and carried goods around the day before they were readily available. In other countries, you don't get the plastic bag. In California, you don't get the plastic bag. It's doable. I know this committee takes an interest in how the impact this will have on low-income members of the community. I looked into it. You can get a renewable bag for 50 cents or $1 for $6. You could really do a big family shopping, and you could reuse those bags for several years. The last thing I want to say on the issue of climate justice is that it is by far low-income communities that suffer from climate change. Incinerators, for some strange reason, find themselves in low-income communities and not in the fancier communities. Low-income children have higher levels of asthma and suffer other ills from climate change. So certainly if the issue is climate justice, our children would be better off without all of that plastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we're going to close the public hearing.
I'll do it.
Mr. Daffis. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Adams, you're up, right?
Mayor, I move this ordinance be adopted as a whole and the clerk be directed to publish the same as a passed ordinance in the Maplewood South Orange News Record according to the law.
I second the motion.
Just want to report out that last week, Tracy Woods and I met with representatives from Wawa, Quick Check, King's, and Extra Supermarket, and we talked about the ordinance. They had some questions, but they're all on board. King's is going to produce a Maplewood reusable bag to give away at the store. Extra has committed to doing that, and that's part of the agreement we have with them if they move ahead. So I think we've also saw in the last couple days that Senator Smith is looking to move forward with his state law. We'll see what happens with that. If that passes, that would be great across the state. But in the meantime, we're going to move forward, and I think this is the right thing to do.
I concur.
Agreed.
So let's call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Daffis?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrecht?
Yes.
Mr. McGehee?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes. Okay, thanks.
That doesn't happen very often.
It doesn't. Yeah, this one was a popular one. Yeah.
Do you think the stop sign ordinance is going to get the same response?
We'll see if you're clapping later. Or another ordinance on final passage.
Mayor, item 12, ordinance on final passage, ordinance number 2956-19. An ordinance requiring the issuance of a zoning permit within the Township of Maplewood for projects under the jurisdiction of the Maplewood zoning law. This ordinance will enable the Maplewood Building Department to issue zoning permits for any projects undertaken pursuant to the Maplewood zoning law that are not subject to the requirements of the Uniform Commercial Code.
This ordinance has been published, copies posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and copies made available to the general public in accordance with the law. Is there anyone who would like to speak on this ordinance dealing with zoning permits? Seeing no one, can we get a motion, Mr. Daffis?
Yes, Mayor, I move this ordinance be adopted as a whole and the clerk be directed to publish the same as a passed ordinance in the Maplewood South Orange News Record according to law.
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Daffis?
Yes.
Mr. Lembert?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes. We have an introduction of a new ordinance.
Mr. Mayor, item 13, introduction of new ordinance, ordinance 2957-19, is an ordinance to amend ordinance number 2891-18 with regard to vacant, abandoned property and properties in foreclosure. This ordinance will require that vacant, abandoned property and properties in foreclosure be registered with the township in order to ensure that such properties do not fall into disrepair.
Mayor, I move the passage of this ordinance on first reading, its publication according to law in the Maplewood South Orange News Record, and a hearing to be held on May 21st, 2019.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Daffis?
Yes.
Mr. Lembert?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes.
Item 14, also on introduction of new ordinance, ordinance number 2958-19. It's an ordinance to direct the installation of a stop sign on Winthrop Place at its intersection with Maplewood Avenue. This ordinance will direct the installation of a stop sign on Winthrop Place at its intersection with Maplewood Avenue.
Mayor, I move the passage of this ordinance on first reading, its publication according to law in the Maplewood South Orange News Record, and the hearing to be held on May 21st.
Second.
Call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Daffis?
Yes.
Mr. Lembert?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes.
Item 15, also on introduction of new ordinance 2991-19. It's an ordinance to impose parking restrictions on Berkshire Road, Burroughs Way, and Union Avenue as part of the Safe Routes to School, Clinton Elementary. This ordinance is based upon recommendations by the Township of Maplewood Engineering Department and will restrict street side parking to accommodate the safe movement of pedestrians and school drop-off at or near Clinton Elementary School during peak times.
Mayor, I move the passage of this ordinance on first reading, its publication according to law in the Maplewood South Orange News Record, and a hearing to be held on May 21st.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Daffis?
Yes.
Mr. Lembert?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes.
Also on introduction, item 16, bond ordinance number 2960-19. Bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements in the Township of Maplewood in the County of Essex, New Jersey, appropriating the aggregate amount of $4,664,063 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $3,306,950 in bonds or notes to the Township to finance costs, part of the cost thereof.
I move the passage of this ordinance on first reading, its publication according to law in the Maplewood South Orange News Record, and a hearing to be held on May 21st, 2019.
I'll second that.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Daffis?
Yes.
Mr. Lembert?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes. Here we have item number 17, the Maplewood Village Alliance Special Improvement District, the proposed budget for 2019. Need a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? There will be a hearing on June 18th. Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Daffis?
Yes.
Mr. Lembert?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes. And item number 18, we have the Springfield Avenue Partnership Special Improvement District, improve the budget for 2019. I'll move it.
Second.
Will there be a hearing on June 18th on that?
June
as well?
18th, the same there.
Okay.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Daffis?
Yes.
Mr. Lembert?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes. Ms. Fritzen, would you report out what's the next step? What do you do with these budgets?
Okay, so tonight, the Township Committee approved the budgets. The next step is that every property owner will receive a notification that there'll be a hearing on June 18th, and they have an opportunity to come and speak. Additionally, we will be advertising the budget for both SIDs in the Maplewood South Orange News Record, and also intent of the hearing for June 18th.
Thank you. Okay, we have 3 discussion items. The first is corporate responsibility for plastics. Ms. Adams?
Well, Mayor, since we got applause, I think hopefully my colleagues will agree with my proposal here. So I'm very pleased that we move forward tonight with our restriction on plastic checkout bags, one small step. So plastics in our world are a major threat to the planet, wildlife, and to humans. We can all agree on this finally. Unfortunately, it's taken decades, and we've become so used to having plastics in our lives that it takes a concerted effort to change how we behave, how we do things on a daily basis. For the last few decades, we've been reliant on using plastics for everything from drinking water to take out food and beverages. But we felt okay about it because we can recycle it. But now we're experiencing huge problem on all levels around the world and down to our local municipalities. Now the market that used to be there for recycled plastics is severely depleted, and instead of making money by providing curbside recycling, it is costing us a lot of money. In our 2019 budget, the recycling line item is $250,000, and it's fully expected that this will increase each year. The recycling companies say they can't depend on selling used plastic and paper at prices that cover these processing costs, so they are asking municipalities to pay significantly more for their recycling. The company we send our recycling to is doing what most companies are doing. They're charging customers for additional contamination fees for recycled material that is mixed with trash, meaning it's unclean, or the unpermitted plastics. These higher fees keep them profitable in the now less than profitable recycling business. To quote a leader in something I was reading from an advocacy group called Last Beach Cleanup, the sooner we accept the economic impracticality of recycling, the sooner we can make serious progress on addressing the plastic pollution problem. And therein lies my thought to begin to shift the costs of plastics from municipalities and people to manufacturers and users of plastics. I'd like some support to pass a resolution demanding our state and federal legislators look at instituting taxes and user fees in this industry, much like cigarettes and alcohol, and also requirements to phase out virgin plastic and incorporate recycled plastics in production of plastics. In California, a bill is currently being introduced for beverage containers to be subject to phased-in recycled plastic mandates. By 2021, beverage containers would be made of at least 25% of post-consumer recycled plastic. That would increase to 50% by 2025, 75% in 2030, and 100% in 10 years by 2035. We bent over backwards trying to educate our residents, trying to get people to recycle properly, but it's getting harder and harder to recycle with more and more rules and restrictions, and therefore less success. We've tried to figure out how to keep this line item from growing with contamination fees and more, but the reality is there's only so much we can do. We must call for corporate responsibility here. They manufacture plastics using oil, I might add, and make huge profits by selling those plastic containers, packaging, bottles, jars, straws, bags, and more to other corporations that then use them to package the products they sell to consumers. We should look at both the manufacturers and those corporations that use plastics here. These corporations need to shoulder some of the burden for getting rid of the plastics that they use. To that end, consideration should be given to a tax, a user fee, or deposit on plastic water bottles or containers, because those who are being environmentally responsible shouldn't have to shoulder the financial burden of those who continue to use single-use plastics. There's a problem when a person can buy a case of water bottles for $3, and recycling those water bottles is costing us so much environmentally and financially. We need to incentivize people to use reusable whenever possible and make it harder and more expensive to buy single-use plastics. Increased costs may induce corporations to be more responsible with their packaging too. For example, I went to the store last week. I went to buy olive oil I picked up a bottle of a certain brand and it was in a plastic bottle. So I put it back on the shelf and bought one that was in a glass bottle. So our consumer behavior needs to promote that as well. So user fees on all plastics would encourage consumers, just like deposits on soda bottles and beer bottles and things in Massachusetts. I don't know if they're the only state. I think there's only like 4 or 5 states that still have deposits, but that encourages people to think about what they're purchasing. So this type of initiative will clearly take a long time to implement. Hopefully, by the time we get some legs under this, with our legislators, we'll have a different president in the White House so that it has some opportunity to pass. Because corporations don't get fined or increased fees from this president. So we need to get the conversation started with our legislators sooner than later. And also, as part of this, I've mentioned this to our clerk and our administrator, that I'd like to follow Mayor de Blasio's initiative in New York City and ask that our town hall and our departments stop purchasing so readily bottled water, plastic dishes, styrofoam, anything that we use for anything. There are better ways to do it. I believe in the budget, we talked about getting a dishwasher for town hall. Down in the kitchen. I'd even moved to get rid of the vending machine that sells plastic bottles of water, since we have refillable water fountains in here. So, and Ms. Viveros gave everybody reusable Maplewood water bottles. So there's ways to do this, and I think we really need to start showing ourselves to be an example here. And I'd like our legislators to start addressing this to corporations for their responsibility in this problem. So I leave it open for you guys.
So what are you asking us to do tonight?
I want to, I can come up with, and give the Mr. Desiderio what I've pointed out, some of the points of 18 billion pounds of plastic waste entering the world's oceans each year, so that we can ask our legislators to start thinking of this problem where it starts instead of trying to take care of it where it ends. So I'd ask for a resolution to both our state and federal legislators. That doable?
Yeah, we're urging them to adopt laws and regulations that would address plastics at its source, as you say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes, please.
Mr. Gaffis?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mr. McGehee?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes.
One step at a time. Thanks,
And
everybody.
You'll memorialize it? I think we're good. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'd also, can we talk about or direct our administration to change practices of purchasing? I know
Why
that.
don't you come back and give us a report on that?
I believe we are also with the green purchasing policy, so that's forthcoming.
The resolution
Green
this
purchasing
evening on the
policy,
consent.
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see it as thorough as possible.
I will say, thank you, Ms. Adams. You're absolutely correct about this. There are some corporations that are already doing this. I heard an NPR article or a podcast the other day, rather, I didn't hear an article, you read an article, but a podcast, that one of the most popular luxury cruise lines in the world, Celebrity Cruises, is taking that on. And they are eliminating all their water bottles and created an on-site recycling plant for their aluminum cans.
Yeah, and that's
a pretty big deal for a big corporation like that. So it can be done.
Yeah, and by contrast, and I just actually emailed Snapple and Eggland's Best earlier today. Snapple actually always had glass bottles, and they've recently changed to plastic bottles, which makes me want to, I don't even know what their thought process, cheaper, lighter to transport and all that. And Eggland's Best with their styrofoam containers drives me crazy. So, thanks. Oh, so just think about what you're buying when you're buying it.
Okay, thank you. So the next item up is the pool fee for the school swim parties, and I'm going to take a shot at it since it's got my initials next to it first. I don't want this to be about personalities or about individuals. I remember, I think all of us were sitting here when we got the recommendation from the pool committee, and I thought it was a very well thought out recommendation, and we sat here, we asked questions, we discussed it, and we adopted it. And then we failed to implement it.
Right.
We failed to tell anybody, the school groups, that we were going to do this. And now we're in a situation where we're trying to hold them to the standard when we didn't tell them either in the 2018 season or the 2019 season that there's going to be an increase. And the information that we got about receiving October 15th, 2018, that we're good to go with 500, and it just doesn't make sense. So my position is we ought to keep it at the $500 and say now to the school representatives that next year it's going to be the number that we adopted. And I'm also willing to entertain a different idea, but that's what we adopted. And so I would take the guidance of the pool committee, but I'll accept ownership of that we screwed up. I think if we would have told the pool committee 2 years ago or 2 seasons ago that this is what we were going to do, there could have been some back and forth and some of the excellent stuff we heard tonight about can everybody afford, how do we do this, it's important. We could have had that conversation and maybe made some adjustments. But now to play catch up on something that we didn't do correctly, I think is wrong, and I think we ought to keep it at $500 this year. Keep the 10, and give everybody notice it's $10 per child next year. And if the schools have a better idea, then let them come back and present it to us and present it to the pool committee, and then we can go from there in about 2020. But for 2019, I would keep it at 500.
Mr. Mayor, I would agree with you. And again, I think, we own this. This was our mistake. And that's what I meant when I said earlier that we can do better. We could have done better 2 years in a row. We dropped the ball and didn't communicate the right pricing. But I do think some of the remarks we heard tonight did open my eyes personally to some opportunities that we have to really do a deeper dive into some of the pricing and work collaboratively to see what we can do for deserving families in our community. There was some good points that were made tonight. We should recognize that. So I will vouch to work with the pool committee on those opportunities.
Mr. Mayor, sorry. Go ahead, Ms. Adams.
I agree with the mayor on this. I also understand those concerns about the pool being available for everyone. I know when I moved to Maplewood in 1989, the pool had a waiting list to join. When we were finally able to join, we couldn't join every year because we couldn't always afford it. So it is limited in space and it does cost a certain amount. So I'd be in favor of like some open days or things like that, but I'll leave that to Pool Advisory Committee to come up with some ideas such as fundraising to help people join the pool. So I think maybe we can find a little bit of balance there, but reality is it's got a limited amount of people who can be members of it at one time. So and safely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, Mr. Desidero, you might remember, or you might just know, do we do this pricing, do we do that by resolution or by ordinance?
Ordinance, yeah.
No, it was by resolution.
Was it?
Yep. And the resolution says it's subject to review annually.
Okay, so I guess, we won't necessarily have to amend or replace an ordinance. We would just pass a new resolution that would supersede the other resolution. Okay. I agree with the mayor and the deputy mayor and Ms. Adams, who spoke already, that, I think it's unfortunate, some of the miscommunication or lack of communication. I think that, the PTAs were given information. I think we have to honor that. And I think we have to go with the $500, I guess, per grade or per school, per grade pricing for this year, even though it means that the pool will take a substantial loss. I just think we'll have to, consider that this year in looking at, the pool's self-liquidating status. Last year the pool was self-liquidating due to a pretty substantial increase in fees across the board, not all of which were implemented apparently, but most of which were implemented. And also a one-time payment from Avalon Bay that was made this year but credited to last year, that was actually what took us from being in the red again to being in the black. I think looking ahead, we'll have to look at what we can do reasonably in terms of the pricing. It looks to me as though, the proposed pricing at $750, would still be a loss. In just running my math, which is always dangerous to try to do arithmetic in public, but I think about $8 per kid, at least based on the numbers we have, would be the break-even point. But $8 per kid is going to substantially increase, even $8, much less $10, would substantially increase the cost of these events. And I don't know whether that's going to be feasible for the PTA budgets. And we also have to keep in mind, as the pool committee is always reminded, that it is a utility. It has to break even, and it's really not supposed to be funded from the town budget. It can operate as a charity. So, if we're going to take a loss on these parties, if we're going to either give away memberships or have free days or other things that will make the pool more accessible, we have to consider how it is we're going to pay for that, because it is a costly endeavor to run that pool. I want to commend both the pool committee, Jennifer, who is here tonight, and also the PTA representatives who were here tonight. I certainly understand the situation, both because I attend a lot of the pool committee meetings, and also because I'm a parent in this town and have a child in the district, and I know the challenges that parents are facing and PTAs are facing. And I think we can work together to find a way here, and I look forward to doing that. And I think there has to be something that we can find that's between the $500 price where the town or the pool loses over $6,000 a year, and a price that's just not affordable. There needs to be some way to bridge that, and I think if we work together, we will find it. But I would support making an exception to the resolution or an overriding resolution for this year alone, for the parties next month, to keep the pricing as it's been in past years at $500 per school per grade.
So I would move, we keep.
I haven't spoken yet.
Yeah, let me just make the motion, and you can, I would move we keep the fee this year at $500. Speak on the motion.
Okay, so I agree in full with Mr. Lembrick. I agree in part and disagree in part with my other colleagues. Yes, we own this. 2 weeks before the pool is about to open, we should honor the previous to 2018 pricing for these school parties. Going forward, what our policy should be, we received a memo from our Director of Community Services, Ms. Melissa Mancuso, with a $7.50 per child recommended price. And that calculation takes into account certain breakdown of costs that I think we should consider deeper by having, by working together, as Mr. Lundberg said, working together with the PTAs, the parents who raise the funds for these parties, who bring the food, who clean up, and they're going to know what it takes to run these events more so than anyone. So hopefully, as we move forward to see what next year is going to be about, we will have greater collaboration on that front. And those are my comments.
Just to clarify, what we have in the memo is the recommendation is $750 for 2019 and $10 for 2020. That's the recommendation.
Oh, excuse me. Okay, so just to clarify, to be clear, we honored the current price
This year
this year.
is the recommended price.
So we're not doing what she's recommending.
Correct.
Okay. Right. We're keeping it at $500 per class for this year. And right now, until we change the resolution, it's $10 per child going forward.
I would recommend that we change the resolution.
Well,
But
we gotta have that conversation. That's not here tonight, though.
Right.
Yeah, so I think the proposal, Mr. Mayor, if I can clarify tonight, which I would support, would be to make the $500 price per grade per school for this year.
Correct.
And basically table till a future meeting,
Right.
pending discussions and collaboration, what the pricing will be going forward without making any amendment tonight.
Correct.
Right,
Okay.
that's exactly what we're saying.
Okay, I'm behind that.
Call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Daffis?
Yes.
Mr. Lundberg?
Yes.
Mr. McGehee?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes. Okay. So the last discussion item is redevelopment area 2. I sent a memo out yesterday talking about what's been going on there. We have a site plan approval for assisted living, affordable assisted living. And as much as we all are hoping that that becomes a reality, it seems increasingly that that's not going to be so. Right now, it's a facility, or it's a group of buildings that are not used. There, I think, are better uses for that, better commercial uses. I don't think there's any need to put more residents back there, other than the seniors. But I think we ought to move forward and loosen up the uses that are permitted so that we can attract some other businesses. If in fact we get a final word on the assisted living. This will help with bringing some ratables, and also some services and products that people in town might be able to use. So the idea is to go back to what we had agreed in May of 2016, to a set of various permitted uses, and include those in addition to the assisted living, that we would keep the assisted living as a permitted use and add these additional uses. And what I've cut out, or what I'm recommending we cut out, is all references of a permitted use that would deal with residents, other than the assisted living. So apartment buildings, stacked flats, townhouses, single-family, two-family homes, live workspaces, mixed-use development would not be a permitted use in that area. I think we have given assurances to the people in that neighborhood that we're not going to create higher density of market rate housing. I think the assisted living was a completely different situation. These are folks who are essentially in that building all day long. They're not driving, they're not going about.
It's not market rate housing.
Yeah. So I would recommend that we contract with our planner to add these back in, these uses, that we would add 2 additional uses, co-working spaces and self-storage units as permitted uses, And I also received the recommendation today from Ms. De Palma, when she looked at this, that we also add artists/artisan studios there.
Right.
So that's the recommendation, that's the request from the developer. I think this will allow us to do a dual track. We'll continue to have the conversations around the assisted living facility and just have those conversations until we've exhausted all possibilities and we realize whether or not that's going to be feasible. And at the same time, look at other uses and see if in fact the assisted living doesn't go through it, we have something else that's viable. Right now, just the process, the only site plan approval we have is for assisted living. If we would have something else, if the developer came back with something else, that would have to go through an entirely new site plan process. Additionally, if we change this redevelopment plan, we would have to introduce it, send it to the planning board for its review, and then have it come back to us. So if we were to introduce this at the next meeting, it could go to the planning board at their meeting in June and come back to us at the last meeting in June. And that would allow us by July 1st to really have the ability to entertain other possibilities. I think by then we'll know for sure whether or not the assisted living is even possible.
Agreed.
Yep. So are we okay with moving forward? The cost of this is covered by the developer. Both there's a fee of $1,500 because he's requesting the change, and also they're responsible to pay the consultant to do the plan. The plan is owned by the company that Paul Greiger works for, so we really can't change it without him certifying as a planner. So we would just take this memo and send it to him and tell him to write it up. It's okay?
Yep.
All right. Yep. Okay. Can we get a motion on the consent agenda?
So moved. The adoption of the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Daffis?
Yes.
Mr. Lambrecht?
I'm yes on items 1 through 11, and I have to abstain on item 12 because I wasn't at the meeting.
Mr. McGee?
Yes. 11, abstaining on 12 and 13 as well.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes. We have our second public comment. Is there anyone who would like to address the Township Committee? Seeing no one, will move to administrative reports. Ms. Viveros.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a few things. First, I'd like to bring up before the Township Committee to consider tonight to pass a motion to go out and do a concession RFP, if you will, for electrical vehicle infrastructure and operative EV car share. This is something that we had looked into at one of our subcommittees, and I'd like to move forward. I've been working with Asbury Park and sort of modeled what they were doing, so I'd just like to go ahead and put it out there and see exactly what we receive.
Everybody okay? She can put out a request for proposal for the EV car share. Yep.
That makes sense.
Okay. Additionally, I had sent out an email from our police chief who would like to appoint 4 police chaplains, and that would be for the 21st of May. So he'd like to send out that invitation.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. We unfortunately had a resignation in the police department. So given the timetable, it would be, the police chief is requesting that we go ahead and make our selection. There is a pool of candidates who do not have to go to the academy. This is something that we could just act on immediately with your authorization because of the hiring freeze. In addition to, because there is a timing of where this person was here for not that long, it was still under the probationary period, if you will. There is a payout, if you will, from the new department that they're going to. So we're working on that.
Right. So that did fit?
It did fit,
good,
yeah.
Good. So the way this works is if we pay for somebody to go to the academy and they leave before their period of time, if they go to another department, we can ask that department to reimburse us for the training or for the time that the
Or
person.
the time that they're here. I believe that they had done the training separately in this one instance, but either way, there was some time that were allotted back.
So the question for us is if we'll approve the replacement of this officer who's going to be leaving.
Yes.
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 And then move forward with a pool of candidates for the new position.
Yes.
The new opening, if you will. Okay. And then lastly, there is an ADAPT drug collection box. It's an initiative that's, I guess, coming throughout the state, if you will. Some of our neighboring towns are doing it, and it's an actual permanent drug take-back box. Unlike what we do once
Right.
or twice a year, this is something that's permanent. So
I think that's great.
we had a really
idea.
successful program here just recently, so.
Yep. I'm good with that.
I have a few things from the Recreation Advisory Committee that they wanted to bring to the administration. Despite having paid a lot of money to rehab the courts over at Memorial Park, there's still serious issues, especially drainage issues on those tennis courts. They were like half underwater today. And I can send you the pictures, but.
Yes, please.
Yeah, and I know DPW is told the Director of Community Services that they would go over tomorrow, but I think we need to look into what's going on there, more broadly and not just sort of, clean it up each time, but, look at whether we might have some legal recourse against the company that did the work on those courts, but, the drainage over there, and they've also had some issues of the court cracking and, the courts over there, the condition is deteriorating badly for courts that have only recently been redone.
When were they done?
It was in the last 2 years?
Yeah, at least 2 years,
Yeah.
yeah.
And how long's a maintenance bond or performance bond?
2 years.
Check
it out.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, it's worth thinking, but I mean, whether or not we have recourse, I think we need to look at what we
Into
might be able to do over there. Because, it shouldn't be that the tennis courts flood whenever there's rain and the water just sits there, because not only does it mean they're not usable, but I think, if Mr. Rowe was here, he'd tell us that also creates a health hazard in terms of stagnant water in a public park. The Recreation Advisory Committee and probably Ms. Mancuso has been getting a lot of questions and concerns about, while some of the field conditions are better, some questions about the, times when the South Orange fields are playable and the Maplewood fields are not. And I think that's something that, the Fields Committee that both of us are a part of will need to look at and also think about some of the priorities and work with our consultant on in terms of figuring out where we're going to put some of those user fees and what we're going to prioritize. Because if we're seeing just raw numbers that show that certain fields are generally always playable and other fields are often not playable, I think we need to prioritize. Because even though the fields may be physically located in one town or another, the teams, the softball and baseball teams, particularly for those baseball fields and the soccer teams that are playing there are, I think almost all of them are mixed between South Orange and Maplewood kids. And whether you're assigned to a field in Maplewood or South Orange depends on the program you're in and the age level, but it's not as though having fields that are in better condition in one town versus the other benefits the residents of that town. It actually hurts, all the kids in those programs. So I think that's something that we should look into. And I know that the Recreation Advisory Committee and Ms. Mancuso are working on gathering some data for us. So I just wanted to put those on your radar, particularly with your oversight over DPW and
Yes.
And the folks who work in the parks, just to have them keep an eye on that, particularly, like I said, the current situation at the tennis court. Thank you.
Thanks.
Anything else for Ms. Viveros? When does the farmer's market start?
The first Monday in June. And just, I wanted to add, we are going out to bid for the security over at the court and the library. We put the RFP out today, and it'll be out for about 20 days.
I just wanted to add to Mr. Lembrick's comments. I'm not sure if you mentioned this during your commentary just now about the fields. This came up last night in Human Services and Rec subcommittee meeting, that we may have a conversation down the road in engaging in a shared service or some sort of mutual aid agreement with South Orange with respect to their grounds people. They actually have staff dedicated to cleaning up, dredging, and getting a field after field play ready for next play. And we do not have that. We have DPW support as necessary, ad hoc, but we do not have that dedicated staff doing that. So maybe we can look into some collaboration there, because that would help us bring the fields on equal par in both towns. Maybe.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Desiderio?
I have no report, Mayor.
Okay, Mr. Desiderio.
What'd he say?
He has no report, he said. No.
Ms. Fritzen?
I have a report.
Okay.
Just to follow up to the email I sent the Township Committee, really concerning your role as the local ABC and the possibility of a transfer up on Springfield Avenue. And I just wanted to run it by you that if you're in favor, it is the Pradesh pocket license that at one point was looking to be transferred across from a current liquor store into the dollar store. And here we go again with Pradesh selling the license to 1830-40, which is the old car dealership up on Springfield Avenue. Just to make sure, before they started any demo and things, that the Township Committee would be in favor of that. Obviously.
Oh, wait, you can't
we
do that. You can't do that. You have to give them a hearing.
Yeah, right. And
Can't decide
obviously,
that.
there'll be a hearing.
No, but you can't do that. I mean, the reason we denied Pradesh is because of the information that came out in the hearing.
Correct.
So
Yeah, so
you
we
can't
can't do that.
prejudge an applicant.
Okay, he's going to go forward. Okay. The other item is just to advise that on Thursday, we have HBO filming in town in the area of the stores on Ridgewood Road, both sides. It's going to require police assistance. They understand that. And it's an HBO short miniseries, but obviously just one day in Maplewood.
Do we know what the name of the series is?
It's the,
Game of Thrones.
No, it's not.
So it's Chernobyl.
It's called The Plot Against America.
yeah, it's the,
And that's Lindbergh
The Roth.
winning the presidential
Roth book.
election
Oh, right.
in 1940.
Cool.
And another event meeting will be coming up for probably 3 events, trying to knock them off at one time with the departments. That's all I have.
okay,
I have 2 questions for Ms. Fritzen. So, Ms. Fritzen, the primary election registration deadline, I believe, is a week from today, the 14th.
Correct.
Are we going to have any
Yes.
extended hours?
Yes, we always do, and we'll be open, and that's already being advertised, and it'll be on the website as well. We stay open straight through to 9 PM.
Okay, so that's 1 week from tonight, open until 9 PM for anyone who wants to register for the primary last minute. Perfect. And I apologize if this is something that was addressed while I was away at the last meeting, but are we going to be, have we made a decision yet about switching the meetings to the 16-18 starting on June 18th?
We actually have not made that decision. That would be the second meeting in June, is the customary move date to 16/18.
Okay, maybe I can make a motion that for our meetings, June 18th through it's usually the first meeting in September, is that right, Ms. Fritzen?
Second,
So both
Second.
meetings in September?
yes.
Okay, so from the June 18th meeting through the September meetings that we, as usual, move our meetings to the court at 1618 Springfield Avenue?
There a second?
We have
Dies for
good
lack of a
fans
second.
here, good
Is there a
fans.
second?
I don't know how, I mean, it depends how hot does it get in here? It was pretty hot tonight.
It's pretty hot.
I know, right.
Oh, Roger.
So I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? I'm going to vote against it.
Yeah, me too.
Stay at town hall. I don't like going over there.
Me too. I don't like going over there. I don't think it accommodates
I think
us.
we need to break that tradition. This is our town hall. We need to have our meetings here. So I'm against it.
I like the fact that we do a few meetings a year on the other side of town, and I also think it's putting aside what we may be willing to put up with in terms of temperature. I think it's not fair for the people we invite to our meetings or the public that may want to come and talk to us, that we subject them to what can be really inhospitable conditions. I've attended some meetings, times when the planning board and other groups have met in here, and it can be rough. The air does not move well in here. So in addition to not being air conditioned, there's not great circulation. So I appreciate that this is our home, but I'm going to vote yes.
Do we have any fans?
Yes,
Well, we
we
do
have
have
the fans right here.
Yeah, yeah. And
We
I
do
mean-
put them on. You put them on before the meeting.
mean,
You
bigger
open the windows,
fans.
open the
Problem with
doors.
the fans is it's tough to
It's
hear
noisy.
in the
Noisy.
meeting, but they could go on before.
Yeah.
And it could go on after. Wouldn't do anything.
Okay, anybody else? Otherwise, we're going to vote. Call the roll.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
No.
Mr. Lembrick,
Yes.
Mr. McGee,
No.
Mayor DeLuca.
No.
Thank you. We'll be staying here.
Okay. Ms. Fritzen, have we done preparation of the OEM building? Have we sent people over there? We're clear on that handicap accessibility in the back for voting?
Well, we're working on it, and Liz already ordered the defibrillator, so.
It's in.
It's in already, okay.
I'm going to go there next week. I already have an appointment with the DPW staff to really scope out the room and also get the defibrillator on the wall, but it's already in.
Okay. And can we get, as opposed to the handwritten signs we use at the Woodland, can we get a real sign that says handicap entrance with an arrow and another arrow like normal public buildings have?
Are we budgeted for that?
I just think it's horrible what we have. It's just ridiculous.
I'm kidding.
It's regular maintenance.
We're also going to have the solar board there for a while. Up to
Gonna have the
the
what?
election, the solar board.
Oh, yeah, the board, okay.
Message board.
Okay. All right.
Once the voters get accustomed to it, and it's going to take at least probably 2 elections, probably June and November, then, like the Woodland became
Yeah.
acknowledged. But I think it takes a minimum of 2 elections because you can't count on everybody to vote in June. So we will work on better signage.
Thank you. Any reports from elected officials? So, Mr. Lembrick, you missed a couple meetings, so we'll give you a shot. Tell us about your vacation.
I'm sure as much as everyone here would love to hear about it, I don't have a report tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, okay.
Hey,
All
I
right.
like that.
Mr. McGee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of things. One, I want to communicate that the Recreation and Human Services Committee met last night. We had a very productive meeting. Some highlights are that our welfare division is continuing to do the good work. We do have an uptick in homeless people living in our community. And with some recent closures in Essex County, we expect an uptick of that to occur higher in the summer. So we're working diligently to find ways to address this situation, inclusive of a Shower to Empower program and more to come on that. We've already touched on Health Division. Our Cultural Affairs Division is doing a phenomenal job. There are a lot of activities coming up, including robust Pride activities, which Mr. Daffis may touch on later. We also have our MAPSO Book Fair and other key events, festivals coming up in May and June. So our calendar is pretty full. Please go to our town website to learn more information about that. From a recreation perspective, our team, Nick is part of that team, is doing a great job with getting our summer programs together for camp. Registration is off the rails, as we like to say. We're in the process of getting staffing together, and we look for another successful, robust summer of camp. And finally, our senior division is doing a phenomenal job with activities for our seniors that provide health and wellness, engagement, trips to oceans, to the shore, as well as to the parks and the city. And so they're doing a great job providing what I like to call age diversity for our community. So this committee is a great committee, does a great job of really representing diversity in our community from an age perspective, from a cultural perspective, and from a health and wellness perspective. That is the Health and Human Services Committee report from yesterday's meeting. I also want to mention that this Saturday at 2 p.m., May 11th, we'll be having our Haitian Heritage Month flag raising ceremony. We will have music, we'll have dancing, we'll have free food and a lot of fun. Our keynote speaker is former Mayor Joseph Champagne from the borough of South Toms River. We'd like all are welcome. Please come out and celebrate the great Haitian community which exists in MAPSO, and we'd like all to come spread the word very much. Also, I'd like to say Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, because Mother's Day is on Sunday, and sometimes we need to take a step back and reflect on the great work that our mothers do for us all the time. And then finally, I just want to say that statement that in the best interest of our kids, to build a best program for them and for fairness, that we need to just focus on doing things that are right. Nothing personal, nothing more, nothing less. As adults, parents and coaches and teachers alike in the classroom, on the athletic field, and in the public sphere, we're teaching our kids model behavior, best practices in solving problems, life lessons. We are committed to showing them that even when we disagree, and even when we get emotional sometimes, remain committed collectively, all, toward working together toward the common good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Ms. Adams.
Yes, Mayor, just wanted to thank again the Environmental Advisory and Green Team for their work on the river cleanup this past weekend. We almost needed the rescue squad when Mr. McGee, he almost slipped on some rocks by the waterfall, but held him up. We're okay. And also a big thank you to the Holocaust Remembrance Committee for a beautiful ceremony on Sunday. That was just this past Sunday. So that's all I have.
Mr. Daffis?
Thank you, Mayor. I have a few things to report on. Just following along what Deputy Mayor McGee already reported as a liaison to the local planning, local assistance board. I've been working indeed closely with our welfare director on the slight uptick that we've seen in homelessness in our town, and to really try and get ahead of the situation before it becomes worse. In Essex County, there are services, there are great providers. Unfortunately, they're all in Newark, and unfortunately, some of those services are segmented to certain populations over others. So the approach is not comprehensive, it isn't holistic, and oftentimes, because some of those providers have been doing it for a very long time, and because as a society we have not spent money on shelters and transitional housing for people who are experiencing housing insecurity, a lot of those services are not serving people with dignity. And therefore, it is completely immoral and unconscionable for us to continue sending our problem if you will, to Newark. Along those lines, I've been having conversations with a provider in Morris County, which is a very comprehensive, very dignified provider that covers the emergency overnight shelter situation, the transitional housing, and the permanent affordable housing piece, a true trifecta. And those conversations will carry on to see if we can bring a satellite operation on a smaller scale somewhere in Essex County. We are a progressive community. We always pride ourselves in doing the right thing and serving others. And this is something that we need to talk about more openly and be more visible about. Homelessness does not just mean the people that you run away from in the park sometimes in the summer because they don't smell good. It also includes friends that you may know who are couch surfing from family to family, from friend to friend. It also includes some people that you may know who live out of their cars at night, even though they have a job during the day. That is also homelessness. So the conversation and the work continues in that regard. On the youth side of things, I'd like to report that there are 2, not 1, youth caucuses coming up, Youth Summit, opportunities organized by youth for youth to speak their mind and tell us their issues. The first one is being organized by YouthNet on May 17th. That is the same night as Open Gym at CHS at the high school. The caucus will happen first before the Open Gym night. Our Maplewoods Youth Advisory Committee has come up with the idea of having another caucus. They felt it was necessary to really provide youth an empowering opportunity to really speak their mind and talk about the issues that are relevant to them. They're hoping to do that on June 6th in this room. They would like to sit up here and preside over a hearing and invite children and their families to come of all ages, middle schoolers and high school schoolers, along with their parents to talk about issues that are important to them in the schools and in the community. It will be a social, it would be an ice cream social in particular, so it'll be a fun event, and we will be following suit with event application and all that good stuff with Ms. Fritzen shortly on that. On the senior side of things, as Mr. McGehee, Deputy Mayor McGehee already reported, yes, senior services are robust. Our senior center really has great programming, and our SOMA 2 Towns for All Ages age-friendly initiative has also put together some important seminars and forums that people should be aware of. Today was the first of the Conversation of Your Life legal series program. The next one is on the 15th of May, and there'll be another one on the 30th of May, and you can find out about all these important programs at SOMA 2 Towns for All Ages.org. On the participatory budgeting process, I'm very delighted to report that we're almost there. Our ballot will be live on Monday, May 13th, online and in hard copy here at the Township for those who wish to do it in hard copy or can only do it in hard copy. I'd like to thank Township Administrator Sonia Viveros and her assistant Glenn Michalowski in helping us put the ballot together. We received, I think it was 22 or 21 projects submitted, public ideas, and except for one, they were all eligible and compliant with the rules, and they will all be put on a ballot. And we will have 2 weeks for voting, and the winners will be announced on June 1st. Thank you, and that's very important. Thank you, Glenn, indeed. We are also translating the ballot in Haitian Creole and Spanish, which is great. We talked about doing that before, and we thank you, Glenn, for helping us in that regard. I'd like to plug the Maplewood Garden Club annual plant sale. That's May 9th through 11th at the Maplewood Community Pool parking lot. Please don't buy your flowers from Home Depot. Don't do that. Shop local. Shop local. Not only will you get the opportunity to help the local Maplewood Garden Club, but you'll get assistance on proper gardening from some awesome gardeners that we have here in town who've lived here for a very long time and have beautiful gardens. So don't go to Home Depot.
I just want to, June 1st is a Saturday. So
Oh, well, the first Monday in June, I believe.
June 3rd,
For
then
the
you'll
winners,
announce.
you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. For the winners of the participatory budget.
No, we'll do it at the Township Committee meeting, which is June 6th.
June 4th.
Or
June 5th.
June 5th, right, June 5th, sorry.
No, 4th
No,
is
4th
election
is the
day.
election day, it's
Oh,
Wednesday.
sorry.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
I knew I had the right day.
On the community board on police is up and running. We have 2 new members. Everyone is getting to know each other. We're, diving deep into our work. And the community board on police will be on tour out in the community, as it were, meeting youth and meeting police officers and meeting members of the community at the various community events coming up this summer. So that's an opportunity to stop by and get to know what the board is about and how you can help down the line when we are ready for volunteers. Special improvement districts. We had a great Baker Street opening celebration for some of the merchants that opened on Baker Street earlier this year and late last year, who didn't have a proper ribbon cutting. It was a wonderful celebration at Toomey's parking lot. And there seems to be a renewed interest really do different things with the Maplewood Village Alliance, which I'm really happy about. And along those lines, tonight was the first meeting. I wonder how it went. Tonight was the first meeting of the expanded design review committee reviewing the proposed building that will be going into 104 Baker. That is my report. Thank you.
Thank you. I have at least 9 items I'll go through really quick. First is Sustainable Jersey. I'm happy to report that we are moving ahead with our application for recertification at the silver level, which is the highest. We're already way above the points that we've received last year. So when we're down there in November at the luncheon, we can be proud to see. I'm sure we're going to be seeing a much higher number for our certification this year. This has been a very cooperative effort by volunteers, Bob McCoy, Tracy Woods, our department heads. I've been writing, and Ms. Viveros has been writing stuff, and so we're really moving ahead on that. On the Rollway River, yes.
Does our plastic bag ordinance count toward anything in sustainable?
I don't think so. No. The Rollway River, this is an effort by a number of towns in Union County and Milburn and Maplewood and Essex County to try to solve downriver flooding, primarily on the west branch of the Rollway River. We have the east branch here. The west branch is the one that goes into Milburn. And we had a plan dealing with the Orange Reservoir that's up near McCloon's, where the swan boats are. Anyway, that was rejected by the Army Corps of Engineers. That was something we compromised on as a number of municipalities. It's a long story, but the Army Corps of Engineers has rejected that. So we, at least they rejected it for their funding. They said we could do it as a local project, we being Union County, not Maplewood. Anyway, I was up in the reservation today with the mayor of Milburn and some others. We're looking at some alternatives, but clearly we have sent the message to the mayors in Union County and the DEP here in New Jersey and the Army Corps of Engineers that we in Maplewood will not support a dam that they're talking about, which is a smaller dam than the dam they proposed before, but would still be about 50 feet. That's something that's not going to get our support here. So stay tuned. This is going to be a lot more conversation. What we've advised the Union County folks to do is to just do it as a local project to eliminate the Army Corps entirely from the process. They should fund it themselves. The municipalities, Rollway and Cranford, are the ones that get the most damage from these floods, but it's Springfield, Union, Kenilworth, Milburn. And they should all put money up and do the project, so we'll see what happens. My office hours are next Tuesday, the 14th of May, from 7 to 8 p.m. here at Town Hall, so just stop by if you'd like to see me. We had two really good events last week. One was Welcome to Maplewood, and that will be continuing in the future, sponsored by the library, and we're going to have a postmortem, come up with some ideas. But that got back after not having been around for a while. There was a lot of energy in that room down in the basement there, the conference room there. And then we had doing business with the township here, where we had our department heads and a number of local business people, those who had businesses, those who were looking to start businesses, and there was a lot of good energy between our department heads and the folks who are selling goods and services.
There were a lot of people.
Yeah, it was really good.
It was good.
Yeah. Saturday, May 18th, from 9 a.m. to 12, we have Talk to the Township Committee, and that will be at the Bank of America on Jacoby Street. Yale Corner. This is the corner at Springfield Avenue in Yale. If you've gone by there today, you see DPW equipment up there with some gravel. We're going to be doing a seal asphalting. We're going to make it flat. We're hoping to get it up and running in time for Mayfest. And we had a little wrinkle, but we decided to move ahead with it anyway. And that is going to become a place of activity for Springfield Avenue.
Very excited about it.
Yes.
Hated placemaking.
Yes. Electric aggregation. This folks have gotten their letters about our sustainable energy aggregation. We are having a meeting here, an information meeting at 7 p.m. right here in this room. We plan to televise it. I don't know, Ms. Fritzen, has Mr. Palmer spoken to you about that?
No, not yet, but we can make.
Would you make sure you get that?
When is it, Mayor?
That's Monday night.
May 13th.
13th. So you work that out with Ms. De Palma, because we want to make sure, and then also make sure that folks can get it after and all that. And yeah, okay. Deputy Mayor McGehee and I attended the Maple Leaf Award this Sunday, and I want to congratulate the people who were honored. Bob McCoy, Mike Summersgill, Mike David, and Barney Levy, who had passed away but was honored for his work. A couple things, this event is, we have plaques in the hallway here and names of people who have gotten this Maple Leaf Award, so they work very closely with the town. A couple of things I would like to I'm thinking of writing a letter on behalf of us that would ask them to consider having this event back in Maplewood. It's in Scotch Plains right now. Second, I think that they have to give a little more attention to making sure that the awardees represent Maplewood now. We had four white men being honored, and we've challenged the Rotary Club, and this year they honored an African-American, Carol Barrett Austin. The Chamber of Commerce is going to be honoring Claudine Baptiste. And I think that it's a reflection on us, particularly since we put the names up on our wall, that we ought to have something. So, and then lastly, there was this conflict. There was the day of the Holocaust memorial service, and a number of people there were trying to get over to the service. So I think they need to try to clear the calendar with the clerk's office to see if there's anything else going on.
Yeah, we have the Woodland now. They could.
Well, there's other places they can consider, and so I'm going to write a letter saying this. And then just lastly, and I think this is just bad form. We had two elected officials there, and we were not recognized. We were not asked to give a welcome. I just think that's just not the way to do things.
Right, because you're not Republicans, maybe?
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
And the last thing I wanted to say is that, believe it or not, I will not be here at the next Township Committee meeting.
What?
What?
Yeah, I know. This is like only the third one I've missed, and one of them was I was in the hospital. And I tried to get here, but no one would let me out.
Are you going to Kansas?
I'm going to Kansas City for the Entrepreneur Conference, and what I am bringing back is a organization called SourceLink. They are going to be working with us to identify the ways in which we can support entrepreneurs here, and what our infrastructure should look like, how we can attract folks, how we can keep folks, how we can generate the interest in doing business here. So I will not be here. I will be in Kansas City. And with that, no one has anything else. We can ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we'll see you, they will see you on May 21st. Thank you.